Okay, the next thing we're going to be dealing with is how to communicate with your dispatcher. There are 3 different ways. Step number 1 is the sheet that you're looking at right now. It's our code sheet. These are the codes that have already been programmed into your MDT. So by looking at your code sheet, let's just, for example, look at number 3. Number 3 says message received and read. So in other words, if your dispatcher sends you a message and wants to know, do you understand what's going on? Have you received the message? Something along those lines. And you want to tell her this, well, all you have to do is simply send her a code message and it'll tell it. How do we do that? On your MDT, here on the button that says button number 7, you'll also see the word code. So to send a code, you always press the word code first. So in this example, we're going to press code, which is button 7. And then we're going to push button 3 because button 3 says message received and read. So I'm going to hit button 3 and then I'm going to hit send. So by doing that, I just told my dispatcher, I received your message, I have read it, I understand it. So that's how you deal with codes. Number 2, how else do we deal with a dispatcher and communicate with a dispatcher? Well, now that brings into the equation what we call our walkie-talkie radio that is found in every cab. In every cab, you're going to see this radio. Now, on the side is a button. Most of you know by now, in order to talk to a dispatcher, you must push the button first and then talk into the radio. But just like when you were in school, if you had to be dismissed out of class to go to the bathroom, you just couldn't get up out of the seat and go. You had to raise your hand, didn't you? It's the same thing here at Yellow Cab. You cannot just pick up the microphone and start talking to the dispatcher. You must raise your hand and ask permission in order to break air silence. So again, how do you do that? Now, as we go back to our MDT, on the bottom of the button number 9 on your MDT is the word voice. All you have to do is hit voice and send. When you hit voice and send, that sends a message to the dispatcher. And let's pretend you're in cab 15. It'll simply say, cab 15 requests voice. And that's what the dispatcher will see on her screen. All you have to do is just make sure that your volume is turned up on your radio and you're listening for something that might sound like cab 15, go ahead. You're waiting for your number to come over the airwaves. Once you hear your number, then that means the dispatcher has given you permission to start talking on your radio. At that point in time, it is okay for you to do so. The third and final way in which you can talk to the dispatcher, and you say, I need to speak with the dispatcher immediately, I cannot wait on voice, this is an emergency, I was in a wreck, I need police, I need a tow truck, something's going on that I need immediate emergency, and I just cannot wait for the dispatcher to respond to my voice. Well, on your screen right now, there is a phone number. That is the dispatch line, 793-6743. You need to program that number into your cell phone immediately. So when those times do come that you need to speak with the dispatcher, you can call her on that private line. But let me forewarn you right now, you must make sure that if you call that phone number, it is a legitimate emergency that could not be handled by sending codes or talking over the radio. Because if it's not an emergency, there's going to be issues between you and the dispatcher in the way in which you communicated. But again, if it's a legitimate request, you can call on that phone number and speak with her directly. And those are the 3 ways in which you can communicate with your dispatcher.